All right, good afternoon, everybody. How are we? Great. We are outside. It is October. We are in this beautiful park. Excited to be here for this conversation. My name is Matt DiMatteo. I'm the CEO of New Life Centers. We are going to have a great conversation here, of course, with elected officials, neighborhood residents, community leads, really focusing in on public safety, on Little Village, on the work that we're doing here. So I just wanted to give everybody a welcome to the greatest neighborhood in the universe. We are excited to be here. I have lived here for 24 years and love it. Love Little Village. So just a quick overview for our time together. We have about 40 minutes together. We're going to hang out, have a conversation. I'm going to give the mayor a chance to give a welcome, have Mike, our alderman, give a chance to give a welcome. And then after that, we'll do intros of a community conversation and panel. And we have various leaders from around the community that we're going to give a chance to be able to share part of the amazing work that's happening. And so does that sound like a good time together? Perfect. Well, I will pass it over to you, to Mayor Johnson. Just give a welcome, and we'll go from there. Great seeing you.
Thank you so much, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I especially want to thank Alderman Mike Rodriguez and all of our community partners, local businesses, and residents of the 22nd Ward for spending the day with myself and members of my entire my administration. Today is the first in a series of events that we are calling A Day in the Ward, where my administration will meet with the local elected officials, business leaders, faith leaders, residents to address the needs of our communities and follow up on our investments that my administration has already made during my first year in office, but the future investments that we have to secure in order to build a better, stronger, safer Chicago. City government knows that the 77 communities that make up our amazing city, our neighborhoods, that's what makes our city so strong. But we don't know all of the unique points of pain and frustration or needs of every single community. And that's why we're here today. City government has a responsibility to listen to our residents and hear directly from them in order to best serve them. And that's what Day in the Ward is all about. We began the day at Los Candelas for breakfast, thanks to the owner of Louis Lopez for hosting us. There we spoke with Senator Villanueva, we also met with Representative Ivan Gonzalez, right? Did I get it right? Edgar Gonzalez, apologies, and other Little Village leaders. We then had a conversation with community safety, with faith leaders. Commander Bittencourt was there, and residents of La Velita Community Church. And of course, now we are here in this wonderful garden. Across these conversations, we are deepening my administration's relationship with the 22nd Ward and, of course, the Little Village community. They've expressed their desire to continue to work with my administration to ensure that our communities are safe, vibrant, and thriving. We also were able to share the progress with our residents about the various investments that we are making, and we'll hear more about those today. Our commitment to the 22nd Ward does not begin nor end with a Day in the Ward. And so today has been a demonstration of the investments that we've made and the investments that we will continue to make in this community. Today, we can see the benefits of the $85,000 grant from BACP's Good Food Fund that was awarded to Los Candelas restaurant, the $65,000 for climate infrastructure funding grant that was awarded to this amazing garden. Throughout the 22nd Ward, we can see the $84.3 million of investments in trees, sidewalks, alleyways, streets, public transit, and biking infrastructure through CDOT. And this past summer, this community area saw an increase in the number of youth who were employed through our city's One Summer Chicago program. Approximately 774 young people, which is a 42% increase from last year, were hired in the 22nd Ward. 774 young people had summer jobs right out of this ward. And so through our conversations today, we have certainly gained a better understanding of the priorities as well as where the investments need to be made. And finally, it is my steadfast belief that any progress we achieve we must achieve hand in glove with the community. We have to do it together. Community engagement will continue to be a focal point of my administration, and particularly in our upcoming budget season. I look forward to continuing our Day in the Ward, but I'm also looking forward to the work that we will do together to build a better, stronger, safer Chicago. And with that, please welcome the alder of this incredible ward, Mike Rodriguez.
Muy buenos días, tardes ya son, ¿verdad? Me complace estar con ustedes hoy en la tarde con el alcalde. Y qué bueno que está en nuestra comunidad. De que el primer día que llegó, el primer día de que el alcalde hizo su trabajo, el día 19 de mayo creo, de 2003, llegó a nuestra comunidad, a Pachowski Park, a visitar el centro que teníamos ahí de los migrantes. Y qué bueno que regrese hoy día, y queremos que él siga regresando, porque es muy necesario que el alcalde reconoce lo que es la comunidad más importante de nuestra ciudad y de nuestra región de los Estados Unidos. La verdad, sí, que aquí en la villita somos el fuente, somos los trabajadores en todas las compañías, en todos los tipos de compañías de la ciudad de Chicago, y que nuestros negocios de la 26 son muy importantes, que se generan tanto el impuesto que es el base de nuestra ciudad. Entonces me orgullece estar con unos compañeros que están aquí, compañeras que han luchado por nuestra comunidad por todas sus vidas. La verdad es que aquí vemos gente que ha vivido en nuestra comunidad por décadas, que están muy invertidos a nuestra comunidad. Y ese es un ejemplo de cómo crear una comunidad con unidad y con hechos. Porque son los hechos que nuestros residentes, que nuestros hijos se necesitan. It's a great pleasure to have Mayor Brandon Johnson with us here today. He was also with us his first day in office at Pachowski Park, where we had a migrant shelter. It speaks to the mayor's commitment to the 22nd Ward community, to Little Village, and we know that Little Village and the 22nd Ward are the backbone of our city of Chicago. They're the backbone of the Midwest United States. No, we are not the second magnificent mile. We are the magnificent 2 miles here on 26th Street. Our community generates a significant amount of tax revenues, but let me tell you something. Our workers, our residents are the backbone of our city, and that's reflected by everyone here, my brothers, my sisters, in the fight here in the community and in the larger 22nd Ward. Earlier today, we were with businesses at Los Candiles, with our friend Louis. I think Ivan was there from BACP. Maybe that's who you thought the rep was. And then subsequently had a faith-based conversation in both North and South Lawndale. And now we're here in the heart of Little Village. And in the next couple of weeks, I just want folks to know the whole 22nd Ward is going to be covered. Because I think the mayor, you're going to be with us at a groundbreaking over Leclerc redevelopment. I don't know if you know this yet, but you're going to be there. And at MB Baptist Church over there as well. I don't know if you know that either, but we're going to make that happen. Anyways, the whole community of the 22nd Ward is a great community. I'm very blessed and honored to represent an amazing community of Black, brown, ethnic white, Asian. We're really the city of Chicago. And I'm so proud to be working alongside so many amazing individuals who day in and day out, my job is to support you getting your job done for our great neighborhood, for our great ward, and our great city. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Alderman. For those of you just joining, my name is Matt, and we're going to operate this like a panel for the next about 30 minutes. And so just a couple of guidelines. I feel like I'm setting up for like a debate and I'm the moderator. This is not a debate, but mics will be cut if needed. But what we're going to do is we're going to have each person, as I go through questions, if you can introduce yourself, who you are, and then keep your response 2-3 minutes. And if I start to stand up, that means your time is coming to an end. but we're excited. We have a great conversation here set up. And I'm actually going to start us out with the mayor again. Mayor, as a broad overview, how has your administration worked to make investments into the 22nd Ward and in communities here like Little Village and Lawndale, and why did you focus on this as a priority as you stepped in?
Yeah, thank you for that question. Look, from the very beginning, I made it very clear to the people of Chicago that the way to build a better, stronger, safer Chicago is to invest in people. And that's what I promised to do, and that's what we're doing. And whether it's in infrastructure or community spaces like the one that we're in now, but also with our local businesses. It's the community local spaces that really make up what I call the soul of Chicago. Here's what I know for sure, that safe communities have one thing in common: real community participation, affordability, local businesses that are thriving, and all stakeholders participating in the overall growth and development of a community. And so from our $1.25 billion investment for economic development, it's the largest investment for neighborhood and economic development in the history of Chicago, to build affordable homes and create small businesses or grow small businesses. And so it's those early investments that we have placed down as a down payment to give people the confidence that they actually voted for someone who's going to always tell them the truth. And the truth of the matter is, the only way we're going to transform this city is to investing in people. And that's exactly what we've done over the first 14, 15 months in office.
I appreciate that, Mayor. Thanks so much.
How was that time? Oh,
you
they
were
cut
great.
my mic off
Perfect.
already. Because I have 40 seconds left. How was that time? I was trying
It
to
was
model.
beautiful. It was
Very
beautiful.
good.
I
All
appreciate
right.
that.
All right.
So I'm going to turn to a couple key leaders in our neighborhood who focus on youth play, who focus on youth sports, on public safety, public spaces. So we have Ray and Rob, both who I've known for many years. And the question is going to be, I know that the intersection between keeping our youth occupied during the summer and enriched through play is deeply intertwined with community safety. Could you talk a little bit about that intersection and how the mayor's investments in One Summer Chicago have impacted the lives of the youth we work with? I'll pass it and start off with Ray. And introduce yourself as well. Should turn on automatically.
There you go. Okay. So my name's Ray Ragoza. I am the executive director and founder of Urban Warriors. And before I start this, honestly, I can't thank Sid enough, because the youth employment would not be possible without Sid. So I just want to give him a real quick shout out. So, you know, I just want to share something. It's in general, it's about access, right? Access to opportunity, access to employment. I remember when I was a kid, right? I started working when I was 12 years old. My uncle used to drive me to Oak Brook to be a busboy over there. And just bringing those resources into the community, investing in our youth just means a lot. My youth were coaches. They were based on our model, you know, a lot of community service hours, right? They were coordinating community service hours for our youth. So just bringing that into the neighborhood means so much. So I do want to thank the mayor for this amazing program and investing more into this program, because it means a lot. My baby's crying, so that's cute, right? So thank you so much for providing that access, which we need. And
actually, my kids I have three teenagers now, have gone through a lot of Ray's programs. Ray was my daughter's coach in baseball and has continued. And I'm going to pass it over to Rob and really talk about the importance of public spaces and safe spaces in our community.
Sure, thanks, Matt. My name is Rob Castaneda. I'm the executive director of Beyond the Ball. I just want to start with public spaces, right? There's research that says public spaces have the ability to increase or decrease crime around them by up to 60% based on two factors. Number one, how often is a space intentionally used by a diverse audience? So everybody from boys, girls, all the way up to grandma, grandpa. And then number two, what's the condition of the built environment? And connecting this with youth employment, David, can you stand up real quick? David Serrano, local youth. He's our senior program manager at Beyond the Ball. David graduated from Gary, a block down, and he led programming for over 4,000 unique individuals this summer. Because we have the support of youth employment programs like One Summer Chicago. I can't stress enough the importance of that type of funding and that type of strategic investment within young people, within communities. But I'll say that one thing that we have that's very unique here in our community of Little Village is partnership. Even in this space right here, the land was acquired by Universidad Popular. The garden is actually programmed by Yolocali. And everybody in the VPC, the Little Village Violence Prevention Collaborative, which is housed by Enlace, uses this space for meetings. And so the connection that we have as organizations, the intention we have strategically with each other as a community, with the city, through the Community Safety Coordination Center, through the Mayor's Office of Community Safety, we can work to make sure we're having consistent, regular activations in our public spaces and making sure that they are, the built environment itself is safe and of quality. So I'll go ahead and stop right there.
Appreciate it. I think it's the power of youth, having safe spaces, being able to work, and it's an ecosystem. I think that's the beauty of Little Village is we've been working together for decades, and we have EDs, leadership, who live, work, and worship right here in Little Village. And so I'm actually going to move over for our third question to Deputy Mayor Jen Johnson. And so Deputy Mayor Jen Johnson, on the topic of One Summer Chicago again, how did your team work to make this significant increase? What did it look like across the city? And how has this targeted increase in youth and employment occupation benefited neighborhoods across Chicago?
Thank you, Matt. Jen Johnson, Deputy Mayor for Education, Youth, and Human Services. And like the mayor, I'm an educator. And so I know that youth are amazing. They have potential, they have knowledge, they have leadership, and when we don't criminalize them and we see their assets, they shine. And so because of Mayor Johnson's compassion and understanding that youth are incredible and not to be marginalized, we have put their leadership and their voice at the center of our work at the administration. So I'll give you an example. We literally just brought on 3 young people, one of whom is on our Mayor's Youth Commission, to the Mayor's office this week as a part of year-round One Summer Chicago. That's a demonstration of our commitment to ensure that youth voices are actually embedded in our office on the 5th floor. So how did we expand? We thought about all of those spaces that we needed to ensure young people were a part of. So not only have incredible organizations like SIR and Enlace grown their programs, but we've had aldermanic offices grow their experiences with youth interns. So the aldermen had interns this summer, and some of our alders have before, but many of them haven't. We asked and challenged our city departments to hire young people more than they ever have before, and we've doubled the number of youth that are working in city departments in the summer. And we're also looking to expand corporate partnerships. So every part of our administration has to be a part of this initiative. No one can say they have zero responsibility on supporting our youth and connecting youth to paid opportunities. Everyone has to play a part. And so Mayor Johnson's just been so clear about that everyone is playing a part in the growth and will need to be a part of sustaining this effort, because it takes the money to pay the kids, but it takes the money to pay our leaders who keep these programs running and to ensure that young people then become the leaders of those programs, right? So it's going to take all of us, and we're extremely proud of the 30% growth that we've seen in the last 2 years in One Summer Chicago. And I just thank you all for your efforts in this community, and we're going to keep working to ensure that we continue that growth and investment and challenge everyone to contribute, because young people are amazing.
Yeah, I think it's been awesome for New Life. We've had hundreds of kids come through one summer. We had close to 100 this past summer, and really giving them a space to insert into a variety of nonprofits and places and spaces. And in Little Village, you can't talk about youth employment one summer without talking to Central State SED. And so Hugo and the team at Central State SED have been an advocate for a long time on getting youth employment for us and for the entire neighborhood. And so, Hugo, I wanted to have you talk to us a little bit about generally your youth services programs at Central State SED, and then what are some of the successes you've seen intervening into the lives of youth with some negative pipelines regarding violence? Like, how have you guys inserted yourself into the mix?
Thank you, Matt. So once again, my name is Hugo Avila. I am one of the co-directors at Central State SED, along with Clelia Gomez. We oversee our operations here in Illinois, and our office are specifically here in Little Village. Central State SER youth programming is specifically passionate in regards to engaging and pursuing young people in the programming that they need to go. And so specifically in regards to One Summer Chicago and year-round programming, we've been very thankful that the mayor's office has really had a commitment to secure additional funding, to work with us very closely in supporting these kind of efforts where we can continue year-round programming for after-school programming, and also fully develop the Summer Youth Employment Program, One Summer Chicago. So we tend to have a lot of focus in regards to educational support, paid work experience opportunities, providing mental health referrals, and providing opportunities for young people to really do civil engagement. We recently completed a quality of life plan here for Little Village, and residents stated that only 36% of them feel safe in Little Village. And it's been proven, as Rob just mentioned, that when you activate spaces and you provide young people with opportunities, that increases value and safety in the community. And that's so much about it, right? It's not just about employment and career development, but it's about providing these young people with a vision and a goal that they can pursue, and being able to provide them with supportive services, bus cars, transportation, wages, vocational training. This has just given pathways and success for these young people to grow. As Rob kind of planted in the audience, David here, you can see what that does for people, right? And it's so important that this kind of investment continues. And I can tell you personally, when the mayor took office, his administration staff reached out to us right away. He said, Hugo, the mayor's, when he ran on a platform of increasing youth engagement development, what can you do to increase your capacity? And being a One Summer Chicago provider, we were right there in the front lines. And we said, yeah, we'll hear your call, and we'll take on, and we'll increase the number of young people that we can support and serve. But to be honest, we're not able to do this work by ourselves. It's because of the people that are here with me that we've been able to be very successful. So when we do One Summer Chicago, we identify these young people and move them through the administrative process of what it takes to get into the portals of My Child, My Future and move forward. But it's partnerships with Ray from Urban Warriors, with Rob, with New Life, with everybody here that is able to then activate these young people to work on these gardens, to go out and be the mentors and the coaches and the leadership where they can start seeing themselves in these roles and giving them opportunities. And we've been able to also leverage these opportunities to then provide vocational training to the young people as well, to start giving them a skill set that they can then leverage. And we cross-train a lot of our programming to then be able to say, now can we leverage a different program where we can then pay for you to obtain some sort of certification or licensing program. So that's the approach that's been very successful here in La Villita, because we're collaborating together, and that's allowed us to move these young people forward.
Appreciate that, Hugo. And I promise you we did not plant people in the audience, but I do want to highlight Jasmine, Ken, Ivan, Mike, all New Life staff who started as youth participants, and we're talking over 20 years ago, who have then come back and are now on staff leading the way, and each one of them working in different parts of the work. That's baked into the DNA of how Little Village works, is we believe in empowering youth as leaders. We have the youngest neighborhood in all of Chicago. We have the most youth in all of Chicago. And so we don't have a choice. Those are our leaders. Those are our neighbors. And so that's a big part of what we try to do together. I'm going to pass it over to Alderman Rodriguez again. Those of you that don't know, Alderman Rodriguez, Rob, and I, we are 5-time Humboldt Park softball champions. We're talking with the Park District about putting up a statue of our efforts. They did ask if we could actually play the White Sox and said we could probably beat them this year. But we won't talk about that. We won't talk about that right now. Alderman Rodriguez, you've known us for a long time. You've known us for a long time, and you've worked with these organizations every day from when you were with the VPC, when you were with Enlace in different positions. Really, how have you seen all of these orgs come together to address violence, to enrich youth, and to really make a better Little Village?
Well, first of all, I believe you do anything, you do it big. So the White Sox, congratulations. They did it right. I'm a Sox fan. They did it right, Matt. Watch out. We're Chicago fans. We're building bridges, not walls, right? Come on now. I go for the Cubs too. So look, I'm one of those young people. I mean, the fact is that, we were talking beforehand. I've known Vanessa since I don't know how old. And, I was hanging out with her sister at Lawndale Hall, right? down the street. I won't tell you what Lawndale Hall was before, but think about Universidad Popular and what Universidad Popular was not a decade or two ago, right? Another bar in the neighborhood. I think about, I live at 30th and Lawndale, right in front of the Ortiz Dominguez Park campus. I refuse the other name. And when I first moved there, I wouldn't let my dog run in that damn thing. But, you know, Beyond the Ball comes in and creates what's the envy of a space, I believe, as far as youth to grandparent kind of engagements and development, right? You pointed out one of your staff here. You know, I grew up at Pachowski Park as a park kid. And I remember when I was 18, first year in college, first major job I had, I met Major and George Roque and Rudy Sosa and got really engaged in what community work was and started mentoring kids that I was 18 at the time. They were 16, 17, right? You know, Cesar and I growing up in the neighborhood playing baseball at Pachowski Park together, although he's a lot older than me. You know, the fact is, I think there's a recurring theme here. It is really baked in our DNA to invest in ourselves and then look at the stage now, right? You know, the mayor and I were organizing 15 years ago together on a number of issues when I was executive director of Enlace and before then. I mean, the fact is, we don't do anything without partnership. The fact is, New Life is now where Lawndale Hall is. Universidad Popular is here where a bar used to be. Yollocalli is here where a dilapidated space used to be, building this space out. I could talk about a lot of examples in North Lawndale and south of the river as well, but when we talk about creating that neighborhood that we all want, that neighborhood where our children and grandchildren can make a decision in the future and say, you know what, I want to stay here. So that's what my goal is, like to build that neighborhood that I know my daughter and my daughter's children one day will think about, yes, this is my community and I want to stay and invest here. That's what we're building and we're doing it together.
Absolutely. I'm going to switch the conversation to CVI, Community Violence Intervention. And we're blessed in Little Village to have Major Emmanuel C.A., Benny Estrada, Jorge Roque, Guillermo, who have been doing this work for decades. And in the last few years, we've seen serious drops in violence and shootings in Little Village, in Brighton Park, and surrounding communities. But unfortunately, this year, we've seen a major spike. And it's a constant battle to really invest resources, to walk with young people. And we've had a heavy season, if I'm honest, both between New Life and Enlace, our workers. And so I want to pass a question over to Guillermo, somebody who I've known for a long time, who has been in this field for a long time. And I know this has been a difficult summer for Little Village, for our neighborhoods, Guille, and both New Life and Enlace have faced deep losses in the past few months. But I wanted to see if you could talk a little bit about your work as a CVI leader and some of the challenges you and your team face with violence interruption.
Good afternoon. Guillermo Gutierrez from Enlace, Chicago's street intervention manager. Love the fans out here, the front row. Yeah, I just want to give a little context. I'm born and raised in Little Village, actually in this area. I'm a product of the street wars of the 90s, where violence was at its highest compared to today. And I'm going to explain a little bit of why that happened. Other than the 90s, it was the Al Capone era, which makes a huge difference. But when I grew up here, I came to this boys club. This actually building that was here, they used to sell weed out of. So interesting, it's a garden now. Unfortunately, I had a friend, Pedro, who got killed inside the boys club in the 90s at 14 years old. I got stabbed in my kidney about 2 blocks up on 26th Street. I got shot in my Achilles a street over. I got shot in my temple 2 blocks over this way. So that's what the violence was in the 90s. Eventually, I ran into a street outreach worker who started guiding me in changing my thought process and my behavior. Years later, started doing the work in about 2000. And quickly I started realizing how there was no investment. All these communities, we had George Roca and Benny. That's who we had, and Major. That's who we had. And they covered Humboldt Park and Little Village. But that's who we had. So now I just want to share that the investment is real and the investment is making a difference. Gary School, Rob has done an amazing, amazing job with that place. I used to have we had shootouts there, ongoing, day in and day out at Gary. But now you go and it's one of the most peaceful environments you could be at. You see little kids, elders, playing and just being, so the investment is making a huge, huge difference. I do also want to give a lot of props to the marriage that a lot of these agencies here in Little Village have, because it is a marriage, right? Collaboration is like a marriage. There's good days and there's bad days. But here in Little Village, it's been consistent, and through thick and thin, we get over it. Unfortunately, because of some of these disinvestments, we've had tragedy in the lives of some of our workers. Since 2021 till now, we've had 28 workers that were working on the field trying to create some kind of level of peace. We had 28 get shot during the time they were at work. 4 of them passed away. Unfortunately, one of them was our staff. And I share that too, to share that we need to start thinking of the process that it takes to really change, because for me, I heard a lot, well, they still have 1 foot in, they have 1 foot out. Well, as an addict to the streets that I admit that I was, I loved the streets. I loved doing what I was doing. I loved making easy money. I loved the excitement, but it becomes a rush. And then for some young people, it's the only way of life. That's what they know. It's already generational here. So if grandfather did it, dad did it, I'm going to do it. So it's just a way of life, and they don't understand it. So our street outreach workers and our peacekeepers go out there and try to mentor them, to pull them into a better direction, right? While at the same time, we have PTSD. So we're coming back into the community with a level of PTSD that triggers us at times. And so it gets very frustrating, or when the community doesn't back them up and support them the way they should. Because us ourselves as outreach workers, case managers, peacekeepers, we're also going through a transition, but we did all one thing, that we made a commitment to try to change the lives of others, knowing that we're trying to change the life of ourselves. So those, unfortunately, are some of the challenges. I would just, I thank everybody for being here, too, because just you being here is an investment, right, to the movement of creating a safer community.
Appreciate that, Guille. And I want to highlight, in the midst of challenges, there's so much amazing work happening. Across the city in the last 7 years, we've built an ecosystem of CVI organizations that work together across neighborhoods. We've built a training academy where we have certification and 144 hours of training for not only outreach workers, but case managers, for mental health practitioners. And so the field has grown, and that's a big thanks to the investments made by the city, the state, and I'm hopeful for the future. In just a moment, I'll talk about where we're going in the future. But I want to go to Deputy Mayor Gary Gatewood on this next question. And really, it's been awesome having Gary in the work, because he knows and understands. He's been in this field, but he's also a bridge builder. He works across, whether it's CPD, whether it's community orgs, whether it's nonprofits, government. And it's been great to have a leader in this space who brings us all to the table in some of the most difficult conversations you can have. And so, Deputy Mayor Gatewood, Guillermo's response was honest and real regarding the nature of what we're facing, right, in CVI work. It's challenging. Tell us a little bit how your office has been able to invest in our communities, and what does that work look like for the future?
Yeah, so one, thank you. I'm happy to be back here. I'm glad we were able to come back and check on the tree we planted a few months ago. It's growing faster than my hair, which makes me excited. So the investments in Little Village and the partnerships in Little Village have been so refreshing. When we first came in to build out what the mayors deemed the People's Plan of Community Safety, one of the first people we called was Matt, and then Rob, and of course we reached out to Enlace to really sit down and think about how we could build out safety from different perspectives. We have seen purposeful disinvestment throughout this city and particular communities for far too long. So it was important that we didn't come in and say, all right, well, this is what's going to happen in Little Village. It was our responsibility to bring in the experts and work hand in hand with the wonderful quality of life plan that you all were building, so we can join in that work in partnership, not to lead it, but join in partnership. We've continued to make investments not only in expanding the partnerships with our CVI work, with the resources that are coming in, not only from the city, the county, the state, and also our partners in business and philanthropy, but also more importantly, investing in people by making sure that we keep the doors open in communication. That has really helped with some of the relationships. Matt mentioned some of the bridge building between CPD and CVI. We created this professional understanding where the Chicago Police Department in 13 of the districts so far, and we will have in every district by this time, by the summer and next year. There's a professional understanding between street outreach workers and the Chicago Police Department, so each side understands that this is how we will work together, this is what you can expect of each other, so that relationship continues to build and continues to grow. There's always around 7 sides to a story. So I get to hear all of them, right? I get to hear from people who are impacted by that violence, the street outreach workers who are responding to it, the victim services workers who are responding to it, and also the Chicago Police Department. And we pull all of that together, so we build out what our response will be in the upcoming weeks, the upcoming days. Little Village is also home to a pilot that our office started with victim services. And I know you all have seen that, where sometimes you have seen instances where everybody rushes in to provide support, and it gets a little confusing on who's responsible for what. So Little Village, as always, opened their arms to us so we can map out how community-based organizations respond and communicate with each other when there's a tragedy in the community. So that has been helpful. We'll continue to build and expand on our investments with the dollars that we've put out. And, I said it earlier, but next week we've hosted quarterly meetings on the People's Plan for Community Safety. We actually hosted one in Little Village. That was our second quarter meeting. We'll have one next week on October 8th. We'll be announcing all of the community conveners. Those community conveners are going to be the leaders in the communities that work hand in hand with the Johnson administration to push that quality of life plan forward, along with the People's Plan for Community Safety. So we are entrenched in this work. We're excited about where we're going. We're excited about, obviously, some of the downward trends, but also understanding that there is a level of violence and conflicts in communities that have to be addressed, and the only way they can be addressed is through that deep partnership that we'll continue to build. So thank you.
Appreciate it. So what we're going to do, I'm going to give a 1-minute overview of kind of a project we've been working on as we look to the future. But I'm going to have each panelist, I'll tee up a question. It's a 1-word or 1-sentence answer. What are you hopeful for in the future? So I'll give you a minute to think about it. What gives you hope for the future? 1 word or 1 sentence to close things out. But for the last 18 months, across the city, we've been working on an initiative we call SC2, Scaling CVI for a Safer Chicago. It's an initiative of how do we invest and really take CVI services to scale. And so a few neighborhoods have already started there in Austin and Humboldt Park. But for the last 6 months, leaders here in Little Village have been working intentionally on a plan for how do we walk with, support, care for, and really bring resources to those at the highest risk. And so we are finishing up our planning phase. We are looking to go to implementation soon. But starting in 2025, we'll really work with those who are at highest risk and intentionally wrap around them with street outreach, with case management, with mental health services, with education, with employment. We have 8 partners in Little Village that have been at the planning table so far. We are expanding that table. It's a table where anybody who's willing and wants to work and walk with and stop violence, that's what we're here for. And so it's a strategy involving all of those things, but also all the important work we've already been doing with the Violence Prevention Collaborative for decades, with safe spaces, with partnership with CPS. And so we're excited for that, more to come, but we are ready to go with a plan. And I think we'll really start ramping up early 2025. You're welcome to come talk to me more or any of these panelists about it, but we've been working hard on that plan because for us, we don't want to see another young person shot. I don't want to have to bury another young person. And my 3 kids, teenagers, live here in this neighborhood a few blocks from here. My kids go to Farragut High School. We believe in this neighborhood. We love this neighborhood. We have hope for this neighborhood. So to close us out, again, one word, one sentence. What are you hopeful for the future? And we'll just go down the line.
I am hopeful that kids enjoy the peace of a city and that the city, they can feel the love and have joy in the city that they call home. That's what I'm hopeful for.
Access, opportunity, and investments in our young people.
I'm hopeful that young people all over our neighborhood, all over the city of Chicago, can have safe, local public spaces that they can thrive in.
I would say I'm hopeful for the work that we're doing here, because what we're really doing is we're legacy building. What we do here today is not for us. It's going to be for our children and our children's children. For a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children.
I'm hopeful because we stand on the shoulder of giants like the departed Rudy Lozano and so many other leaders in our community. And I'm also hopeful because these young leaders will be kicking us to the curb pretty soon here.
Well, I'm hopeful about the investments that we are making, that building a better, stronger, safer Chicago. The only way we can do that is by investing in people. And since Hugo was quoting scriptures, the one that I'm always reminded by is that where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. And our hearts are with the people here in Little Village and across this city.
I'm extremely hopeful that we're going to flip the narrative on who our young people are, what they are capable of, and that we will train adults to listen to young people and let them be leaders now, not in the future.
I'm actually grateful that Daley and his war on gangs is not around anymore. That's a huge one because that took us another way. But I'm hopeful that people really start looking at peace workers as a profession and give the same respect that police officers get and the same respect that all workers get around the world when it comes to this, because they're putting themselves in very violent situations. And transformation is not easy and it doesn't happen overnight. So I'm hopeful for that.
Well, we were scheduled to go till 1. It is now 1:01, so we are good. Thank you to all of our panelists. Let's give a round of applause. So we are going to actually transition to a press conference and some words and some notes, etc. Panelists, you can stay where you're at. I have to head out. I have a flight, so I'm not leaving and running away. But just thank you all for coming out. We're really excited for the future of Little Village and the future of Chicago. Again, another round of applause to this team. Thank you.
That's number one. Oh, group photo? Okay, yeah. With like the panelists or? Okay. We're going to do a real quick panel photo and then, yeah, right side.
Everyone, we'll get started with the press conference in about 3 minutes. Thank you for your patience.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I am Pastor Daryl Glover. Good afternoon. I am Pastor Daryl Glover Sr. I am the founder of Fuel Movement Community Organization. We're located in North Lundale. Our mission is to bridge the gap. Every week, we're open 6 days a week. We have anywhere from 300 to 400 people that we serve, hot meals. We have a seniors program. We have computer classes. And our recent most victory we had was to open up a food pantry in our area that is like a grocery store. The community can come in and shop. It is nice and clean, and we serve the community with a smile. Our mission is to bridge the gap. Wherever there's a gap, we bridge it. We also have a youth program. It is called Leaders of Now, where these young men come together, they begin to speak. Lives have been changed, and we notice that violence have been reduced in our community, and we are happy to serve. Thank you. We're calling Mr. Ray up to the stand next.
Yes. Hello, everyone. First and foremost, I want to thank, I'm sorry? Ray Ragoza, Executive Director and founder of Urban Warriors. First and foremost, I wanted to start by expressing my deep gratitude to Mayor Brandon Johnson. Thank you so much. And the City of Chicago for the incredible opportunity provided through the One Summer Chicago program. Urban Warriors is honored to be a recipient, and this program has had a profound impact on the youth that we serve. Through meaningful employment and mentorship, our youth have gained invaluable skills and experiences that will empower them far beyond the summer months. At Urban Warriors, we are dedicated to creating spaces where our youth can thrive and grow into their true, authentic selves. Mayor Brandon Johnson's recognition of the importance of building a new community space speaks to this very mission. One of our primary goals is our intent to build an innovative building in our community. Mayor Brandon Johnson and his support for Mayor Brandon Johnson's support for the creation of a multicultural sports complex in Little Village is not just about infrastructure. It's about providing a safe, empowering environment for young people to develop physically, mentally, and emotionally. This is about investing in our future, in the next generation of leaders, and ensuring that they have the resources, support, and opportunities to succeed. I'm excited to what's to come and proud to stand alongside the mayor who is committed to uplifting our communities. Together, we're building more than just facilities. We're building human capital for our city, the city of Chicago. Thank you. Vanessa Sanchez.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Malinali Garden in La Villita. My name is Vanessa Sanchez. I'm the Director of Education and Yollocalli Art Streets at the National Museum of Mexican Art, and I am a Yollocalli alum, and I am from La Villita. Yollocalli is the museum's award-winning teen initiative, located here in Little Village across the street at the Little Village Boys and Girls Club. We serve over 250 youths each year through after-school and summer programs. At Yollocalli, we not only build their agency and leadership, they grow their creative thinking skills with mentors, and they work on artistic projects with their peers, and they also find a safe place for them physically, mentally, and emotionally. In 2019, Yollocalli established Jardín Malinali with our partnership with Universidad Popular to create more green, safe spaces in Little Village, in a part of the neighborhood that is surrounded by homes and community organizations with little public outdoor space. With the help from a grant from the City of Chicago, the Climate Infrastructure Fund, Yollocalli will initiate its green infrastructure plan to ensure the sustainability of the garden and contribute to the mitigation of impacts of climate change on the community. The plan includes new landscaping with native plants and soil, accessible permeable pavement, and an installation of a rain garden. These new changes at Jardín Malinali will greatly enhance the sustainability and the accessibility for the community members and the land alike, contributing to a healthier environment and a welcoming, safe space today and in the future. Thank you. Next is Luis Lopez.
Hello, good afternoon, La Vita. My name is Luis Lopez from Los Candiles restaurant located at 2624 South Central Park. I'm just honored to be here. Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here and represent a local restaurant here in La Vita that my parents took over and were owners in 1995. First and foremost, we are grateful for this Good Food Fund program that Mr. Mayor Johnson provided for us. It's been nothing but motivation. It's encouraging for us to keep our prices firm for our community and for our customers to keep coming back. We know that everything has been, so pricey, and the flow of things have been tough. But the community and the passion that we have for what we do is in our menu. We are open Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. On the weekends, we are open from 8 to 4. We offer catering. We offer taco events for any occasion, and we appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for your time, and La Vita, we're here to stay. Yes. And next up is Mr. Mike Rodriguez.
Always selling. I love that. That's an entrepreneur. Way to go, bro. I'm very happy that the mayor has joined us in the 22nd Ward for a series of meetings with different entities. First in the morning with various elected officials at a number of levels of government, with small businesses, and thereafter with the faith-based community, and just now with the largely the nonprofit community here in the 22nd Ward in Little Village. And that's what it takes. It takes bringing people together to create better neighborhoods. And it takes government to listen to those concerns and invest in those needs. The fact is, you heard from Luis Lopez at Los Candiles, a small business owner who received investments from the city of Chicago. You heard from Ray Regoza, who has a commitment on a new sports-based youth development facility here in the community. And you heard from Vanessa Sanchez, a longtime friend of mine and someone who's a leader on the arts education and the environmental justice movements. And those are the cumulative efforts that government needs to take to invest and create the changes so desperately needed in our neighborhoods. I'm a proud Little Village resident all my life. I will live here for the rest of my life because my wife and I just finished a build out a couple years ago, so we're not going anywhere. And I couldn't think of a community, a ward, a neighborhood that I want to be more invested in than the great 22nd Ward and Little Village, where we have not the second magnificent mile, we have the magnificent 2 miles. Brevemente en español, me orgullece que el alcalde llegue a nuestra comunidad y nuestro distrito para anunciar y dar luz a algunas inversiones a organizaciones no lucrativas, a empresarios y también a lugares como esta. Este es un lugar donde queremos que la comunidad se reúnen y hacen esfuerzos por el mejor de nuestros jóvenes, por el mejor de nuestro ambiente y por el mejor para toda nuestra comunidad. So without further ado, it's my great pleasure. On his first day in office, Mayor Johnson was with us at the migrant shelter at Pachowski Park. Today he's with us again in our community. I know he'll be here very often over the next couple of years. Please give a warm welcome to Mayor Brandon Johnson.
Thank you so much, Alderman Rodriguez, and good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. I do want to thank Alderman Mike Rodriguez and all of the community partners here in the 22nd Ward for giving me the opportunity to spend this day with them. This is the first of a series of events that we are calling a Day in the Ward. My administration will meet with local elected officials, business leaders, faith leaders, nonprofit leaders, individuals who are part of the transformation of this city in order to get a better understanding and build deeper relationships with the community. I do know that there are unique dynamics that make up all 77 neighborhoods in this city, and the pain, the frustration, but the needs of every community have to be met. And it is my commitment to do exactly what I promised to do when I ran for office, which is to invest in people. Government does have a responsibility to listen to residents, to hear directly from them in order to best serve them. And that's what a Day in the Ward is all about. As we said, I had a chance to hang out with Louis earlier and his family. The restaurant is great. I would highly recommend anything and everything on the menu. But thank you for hosting, and Senator Villanueva, as well as Representative Gonzalez, they were both there. But I've also had a chance to spend time with our faith leaders who are really the beauty and the pulse and the heartbeat of our city. These are faith leaders who oftentimes are not paid and volunteer. Many of you all know my father was a pastor, so was my grandfather. It's one of the main reasons why I did not become a pastor, is because I do know that those non-union jobs as pastors are really terrible. But the people of Chicago depend on our faith leaders, so thank you to Pastor Glover and his heart, and all of the folks who work alongside with him. But today is really about how we are not just listening, but demonstrating our commitment to invest in people. And so the benefit of the $85,000 grant from the BACP's Good Food Fund that was awarded to Los Candilas, the restaurant there, $65,000 for climate infrastructure funding for the Malianali. Did I get that right? Malianali? Okay, y'all, hold on a second. Hold on, it's only been 15 months. I'm still working on my Spanish. Malinali, thank you. But really, we can also see those investments with the $84 million plus of investment in trees, sidewalks, alleyways, public transit, biking infrastructure through CDOT, and grateful for all of our leaders that are here today. Deputy Mayor Jen Johnson, Deputy Mayor Garen Gatewood, my Chief of Staff, Cristina Pasillon-Zayas, and Tom Carney is here. Really excited about the work that Ray is doing, you all. Anyone who spends time with young people for a minute or for years, you automatically get to go to heaven no matter what you do. And so Ray's commitment to our young people and hiring young people, this is something that we said we would do. 774 young people from this community were hired for our One Summer Chicago. That's a 42% increase from last year. 27,793 young people as a whole have been hired. That's a 30% increase since I've been in office. Look, in closing, I do want to thank all the elected officials, the leaders who are here, who are committed and dedicated to transforming this city. And it's also a very exciting time for the people of Chicago, because we actually get to do something that has never been done before. And that's actually to really build cooperation of investing in the city, investing in people, and transforming it all at the same time. And with that, we'll take questions.
One question, one follow-up.
Good afternoon, Mayor.
Good afternoon.
The other day I asked you about asking Pedro Martinez to resign, and you answered saying you didn't ask anybody to do anything. Did you or did you not ask Pedro Martinez to resign?
Here's what I've asked, and this is what I was asked to do when I ran for office, was to make a commitment to transforming our public schools. And that's what I'm going to do. As a parent, the people of Chicago voted for one of their own. Someone who actually sends their kids to public schools, someone who's actually taught in our public schools. Now, as you know, I don't ever discuss personnel issues. I find it to be highly offensive, irresponsible, and raggedy, and I don't do raggedy. And so I want to be very clear. Here's what I've asked of all of my leaders. We're going to invest in people and transform this city. And people who are part of that effort are reflecting the values of what this city is all about. So I will continue to ask and demand that we put our children first and the families who rely upon our public education system. The other thing, which is actually important, is that we've also asked the state of Illinois to do more. Look, when I started organizing as an educator, the state of Illinois was ranked 49th out of 50 in terms of education funding. Now we're at 32nd. I don't think anybody's given anyone a high five for being in 32nd place. We can do better. And the $3.6 billion that the state has calculated that the entire state of Illinois is owed, districts across the state of Illinois, we want those dollars for those children as well. But of course, I was elected to fight for the families who send their kids to public schools, just like I do. All right?
You still didn't answer the question. Did you or did you not ask Pedro Martinez to resign?
As I said, I don't discuss personnel issues. I don't do that. It's irresponsible. But I can tell you this, though, for sure, that the people of Chicago expect me to fight for families. And that's what I'm going to do. And here's why that's important. Everybody knows that my son is a Bronco. But do you know why he goes to Kenwood? It's because there wasn't a school on the west side that offered orchestra and soccer and other extracurricular activities that are important. Do you know how many families every single day wake up trying to figure out, what is the best possible scenario for their child? And so if I, have to make a decision, me and my wife, about a school on the south side, simply because our children play string instruments, no one should be happy or feel comfortable or celebrate the fact that you have families like mine that have to travel to the south side so their children can have an orchestra class. I'm going to fight for public education in this city. As our brother articulated earlier, in the 90s, it was awful. Sold off all the city assets, sold off everything. Didn't pay pensions, privatized our schools, shut down public housing. I was elected to fight for the people of this city. And whoever's in the way of that, get out of it.
Mayor, do you expect...
Hold on a second, there's some order. Please, go ahead. You're okay.
Hi, Mayor.
Hi.
Hi. We had somebody shot on CTA today, 4 others on Labor Day. What is happening on CTA? What is your message to those who have to rely on that to get where they need to go? Should there be a change in leadership there?
Well, what's happening in Chicago is what has been happening in Chicago for a very long time. People have ignored the needs of people. But there's a new day for Chicago. I'm not ignoring the needs of people. It's why we were fighting for bringing Chicago home. Corporations blocked it. They didn't want to pay their fair share. And so you have a housing crisis, not just in Chicago, but across the globe. And people are becoming increasingly desperate. Of course, my heart breaks every time I hear about a shooting, especially when someone is harmed or even worse, killed. As far as leadership is concerned, I don't discuss personnel issues.
And then just to follow up to that, there's supposed to be some sort of gun detection technology that's on CTA now. Is that working? Is that something you support? Or is there another alternative in the short term that you can promise people?
Well, first of all, it's not policing and technology alone. That is actually lazy. If it was just technology, then we all could just go home and pull out our iPads and feel good about ourselves. Now, some people probably do that, and I don't have a judgment, there. But that's why this room is comprehensive. We announced for the first time in the history of Chicago, we have built an alternative response to 911. 40% of 911 calls are mental health crises. Police officers should not have to show up to mental health crises. Now, I'm grateful to the CIT workers and the paramedics who did it, but we are hiring and investing in public health. We're opening up a mental health clinic in Roseland on the south side. Providing behavioral health care services at the UIC Village in Lower West Side and Garfield Park. We're hiring young people. Do you understand where I'm going here? It's a comprehensive approach. If it were just one thing, one answer, then I guess you could hire a dictator. But I'm glad that we have a democracy that recognizes that in order to build a better, stronger, safer Chicago, you have to have affordable housing. You have to have reliable, safe public transportation. You got to invest in young people. You have to have a public education system that actually responds to the needs of families. That's what we're doing. Do you understand why people are somewhat uneasy with the moment that we're in right now? It's because people have gotten comfortable over the years of just responding to the status quo. This collection of work right here is not status quo. What you're seeing is transformation. You're seeing a new way for the city of Chicago. And that's a good thing for the people of Chicago. That's what they voted for. That's what they got.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor.
I need some water. Good afternoon.
You want some water first?
No, you don't have to worry about that. You're just fine. You got one job. You got to ask a question and a half. There are other people out here who get water from you, but thank you for your concern.
You've outlined a very bold vision.
Yeah.
About investing in people, which will take a lot of money. You have a $1 billion budget deficit looming over the city of Chicago. You have teachers who are asking for substantial increases in the education budget. You have Springfield, who says they're not really in the mood to start financing your vision for Chicago. Where is the money going to come from? Can we expect a property tax increase because of it? And where do we go from here?
I don't know what's more bold, my vision or your questions. It's a lot. You know, look, we're supposed to be bold. We have to be bold. We do. And the reason why we have to be bold is because, look, this is not me judging anyone. But when leadership in the past decided not to pay into our pension system, that was irresponsible. They took dollars that was dedicated for workers. I'm a worker. Dollars that were dedicated for workers and decided to give it to developers. So now, and this happened in the 90s. I was in high school, Mike was in high school. Some folks weren't even born yet on this stage. And they spent all the money. They spent all of it. And then now here we are 30 years later, they left us with the debt. I think it's just important to understand that context. I know what your ultimate question is, where do we go from here? I got you, I promise you. But it's important for the people of Chicago to know that the reason why we have to be bold is because you had irresponsible governance that took dollars that should have been going to the people, gave it to developers, and our neighborhoods lost. And then after they ran out of money, you know what they did? They started to sell off all the assets. Do you imagine if your ancestors left you a home and then you begin to spend all of the wealth that they built? And then when you ran out of money, you started to sell the paintings and everything else in the house? That's what leadership in Chicago did. They literally sold off the assets, parking meters, the skyways, right? And so now, whether you're in the mood or not, we got to deal with it. I wish governance came down to people's mood. You imagine? I wish it just came down to people's moods. So if you're in a good mood, maybe you get a good government. If you're not in a good mood, then see what happens. So here's what we have to do. Everything is on the table, right? I have to deal with this deficit while also investing in people. And investments are up. $1.25 billion investment for economic development and housing. We're building affordable homes. We're still doing that. We're going to keep hiring young people. We're still doing that. And we have to respond to the needs of the people. As far as, what teachers deserve, I've been a teacher. I have. And I have not met one person who simply hates teachers. Well, maybe there's a couple. But those are the ones who are trying to bust and destroy unions. Right? So the people who hate teachers, these are the people who are aligned with people like Donald Trump. Right? Who want to undermine public sector and public unions like Bruce Rauner did, right? So where we go from here is that we all have to come together and, make the hard decisions. We've already saved the taxpayers over $200 million. Expenditures are down. So we've been responsible while investments are still up. So we're going to continue to have those conversations to respond to the crisis that no one on this stage created. None of us. None of us did it. But all of us on this stage in the entire city of Chicago, we're certainly going to fix it.
But the question remains, who's going to pay for that fix?
Look, as I said, everything's on the table. Now, the ideal situation would have been what we've been calling for, which is a fair tax. State of Illinois, I hope that our partners in Springfield consider going for that again. The rich and the ultra wealthy and major corporations continue to get tax breaks. They circumvent their responsibility by moving through these loopholes, but they have to do more. Look, our economy is shifting dramatically. As you just heard from Louis, we're trying to keep prices just for groceries and businesses stale enough so that the profit can be made and people can still afford. So the wealthy in this city, the wealthy in this country have to pay their fair share. That's what Bring Chicago Home was all about. You remember that? 97% of people would have received the tax break. 3% roughly, and I think I'm rounding up, would have had to pay a little bit more incrementally. That's how stingy some of these corporate interests are. That they would rather us have conversations about the homeless on trains than actually pay their fair share so that we don't have people who are unhoused. And so that's a system that we do have to disrupt. And so, yeah, people are a little bit uneasy about that because they have benefited from the turmoil and the chaos. But I'm just as determined as I was when I was a public school teacher, making sure that our children had the very best education. I'm still that determined person, as determined as I am to make sure that my own children have a future in this city. And so we're going to do everything in our power to, of course, to fix this challenge. But we also have to be very clear that the way to transform this city, this state, this country, the rich and the ultra wealthy have to pay their fair share in taxes.
Good afternoon, Mayor.
It is a good afternoon. Let me just say, of all the things that I get credit for, I never get credit for good weather. Because you tweet that, Alice, that the mayor of Chicago made sure that the weather was perfect today.
Well, let's circle back to that after my budget question.
Okay, all right.
In a similar vein to him, why is the city resorting to delaying the budget timetable when we've known as early as last budget season that the deficit would grow to that?
Yeah, it's not a delay. Look, we have a simple timeline. It's a timeline, right? A delay would be that we do something after the constitutional responsibility that I have as the executive. I have a window in which we can deliver a budget, and so I'm going to work within that window. And as long as that window is there for me, I'm going to utilize or take the space, whatever is necessary.
And I know your team is saying everything is on the table, but raising property taxes was a red line you drew in your mayoral campaign. Do you think a year and a half later that the calculus has changed?
We've always known that the budget gap would be what it is. Remember when I ran for office, I was the only one who put forth a budget plan. Remember that, right? And I said that the budget gap in my first year would be a $500 million, which was accurate. And then, of course, we projected the one that we're in now. I want to do everything in my power to make sure that working people and middle-class families in particular have a real opportunity to grow in Chicago. You know, it's unfortunate, though, that, again, because of the failures of decades ago, that now we have the responsibility to fix what's broken. We're looking at everything, and we will put forth a proposal that not only closes this budget deficit, but sets us up for the future. Now, one thing that I can say for sure is we're going to keep investing in young people. We're going to continue to build affordable homes. We're going to continue to make sure that mental health and behavioral health care services are provided. We're going to make sure that our public education system does not force families like mine to have to shop all over the city of Chicago to find an orchestra class, or swimming. We were just at Farragut High School, I think a year ago, and many of those students that I sat with, they're just looking for simple resources like having a bus to get to their game. They don't have uniforms in some of these schools. So sports and extracurricular activities, of course, have been starved out. So, again, as the mayor of the city of Chicago, I have the responsibility to look at everything, and that's what I'm doing.
Good afternoon, Mayor. How are you?
I'm wonderful, thank you.
I would like to go back to the education. I have just a question. Have you asked to the Board of Education or one of their members to fire Pedro Martinez?
No. What I've had, when we talk to, members of the Board of Education, what we've asked them to do is not cut our schools. One of the proposals that was out there was 5,000 layoffs, firing teachers' assistants, which primarily are brown and black women. Who wants to fire brown and black women? Not me. So, those ideas that were put forth, they're just a non-starter. What we've said is that, they have a responsibility to take care of their workers. And that includes their retirement. Got to pay for it, right? Previous administrations decided that they weren't going to pay pensions. I'm not going to do that, all right? But what we've also said, not only do we have to make sure that we're not cutting into our workforce, and that we have to take care of our workers, making sure that they have retirement. We have to invest in our children, you all. Do you all know that is the single most important thing that we can do as a society? Is invest in our children. Look, I've been in these classrooms. I taught 7th and 8th graders. I've taught high school. And they show up in our classrooms with tremendous hope and aspiration. But you know what prevents them, in many cases, from fulfilling their full purpose? It's opportunity. They come hungry. They're unhoused, 20,000 of them. My administration is in the business of solving and fixing what has been broken. This is not about a single individual. That's what you all are missing here. This is not about one person and one person's job. This is about the 300 and almost 30,000 families that require me to lead, to fight for them, and to invest in them. And do you understand that is my God-given purpose, is to invest in our young people. If this was just about one person, this could be solved. But this is not about one person. Hundreds of thousands of families need our public education system to finally be right and to do right. I'm going to do that with the help of the people who are on this stage. Do you have a follow-up? Are you good? Okay.
Mayor, my
You've been
apologies
very
again.
patient. It's okay. That's all right. It's
Come
fine.
from a big family. We fight for our food. But again, my apologies. Just to follow up on that, the reports are that as many as several of the CPS board members are thinking about resigning. Do you expect some of them to resign? And 6 months before a new school board, a hybrid school board comes in, why would they do that?
I'm glad you mentioned that we're going to have at least partially an elected school board, because I fought for that. I did. In fact, September 9th, first of all, I'm not on Twitter. Somebody sent me a screenshot. I'm not. I don't know any of my login passwords, so I can't even see what's on there. But there was a picture of me taking an arrest inside of City Hall in front of the elevators. And that was a time in which, remember when Rahm Emanuel was closing all the schools and how horrific that was and how traumatic it is still today and how devastating it was for the people of Chicago. It was one of the greatest acts of terror that I still believe that was ever promulgated on the people of Chicago, especially black folks. So we took an arrest there. There was a hunger strike. I was a part of that. And this community, as Alderman Rodriguez knows, has a long history in that type of resistance. And we did that because that's how much we believe in public education, right? And so we fought for a school board because there was no democracy in this city. We fought to make sure that happened. And then eventually we'll have a fully elected school board. So that's a good day. It's a good win for the people of Chicago. As far as us transitioning into a hybrid, look, that process is inevitable. The reports that you all are hearing, I guess that's the nature of Chicago, where there are a lot of rumors. There was a song about that too, Paris. Do you remember the name of that song, Paris? Look at all these rumors. It's okay. You can Google it. But I don't live in that space, because it distracts us from what we really have to do, right? So here's the thing. How about I do this for you? So you don't have to live in rumors. How about we just live in the truth? And here's the truth. I'm going to do whatever is necessary for the people of Chicago when it comes to our public education system. Public education at the expense of the state, particularly in the South, after all, is a Negro idea. And so now a black man gets to live out the hopes and aspirations of my ancestors who fought for the right for education. And guess what I'm going to do, Paris? I'm going to do exactly what our ancestors wanted me to do, is to fight to ensure that every single child in this city, no matter what zip code you live in, no matter what neighborhood you live in, that you have a right to the fundamental access to our democracy, and our democracy will only survive through public accommodations. And so whoever wishes to be the part of that effort and that movement, they'll find comfort in my administration. Thank you all very much.
Yes. Oh, we have more questions.
Oh man.
Couple more reporters here.
I'm so sorry. Who else has a question?
Hi, Mayor.
Shoot, I had dropped the mic and everything.
I have a follow-up to Paris.
I'm gonna need some more water, y'all.
Me too.
Go ahead.
Mayor, are you talking to any of your board members and asking them to stay on, or do you welcome the opportunity to appoint new members who might be more aligned with your position on the loan issue and the CEO?
So first of all, let me just say this. The alignment with me is the alignment with the people of Chicago. The people of Chicago voted for a public school teacher. They voted for a parent. They have one of their own in office. And so, as we transition into the next phase, of course we're gonna, when we get to that point, we'll have those conversations, but we're not at that point right now.
And then still on CPS, one of your allies in Springfield, Representative Cam Buckner, says that, this public dispute, it's grown very public on CPS, with Martinez writing the op-ed in the Tribune and reporting about potential resignations, said that this doesn't inspire confidence in Springfield among lawmakers in your administration. Are you concerned that the fact that this has grown so public hinders your ability to push for other things that require negotiations, like your budget in city council or your revenue priorities in Springfield?
Yeah, here's the inspiration. It's the families of the Chicago Public Schools. That's the inspiration. So here's the thing, and look, I have not seen that, that quote. I have to take your word for it. But my inspiration, they're the people who rely upon the public school system. Look, Springfield, I've been down there. They were 49 out of 50 when I started organizing. I mean, what other inspiration do you need? If schools do not have libraries and librarians, if children are unhoused, and that's the case, if families like mine have to rush to the South Side just to make sure that my child has access to music, that's the inspiration, right? Is to repair the harms that have been done. And so I'm grateful that we have a strong partner and ally like Representative Cam Buckner, who I know is committed to making sure that the $1.1 billion that the city of Chicago rightfully deserves, just like the $2.5 billion the other districts deserve and throughout the state of Illinois, that we're all going to work together to accomplish that.
Hi, Mayor.
Okay, you got to ask me a question that allows me to drop the mic. So ask me a White Sox question.
No. So back in March, I asked you about police overtime spending, and you said that you were frustrated and it was out of control. This week, I reported with my colleague Jared Brutecki that the police department has spent $129 million in the first 6 months of 2024. That's $30 million more than they were budgeted for the whole year. Why haven't you been able to get overtime spending by the police department under control, especially given the city's, as you say, dire financial situation?
Yeah, look, this is still very much a frustration that I have. And I've been in conversations with the superintendent, with the office, our budget director, to come up with better systems. Right now, again, the way we have approached community safety in Chicago, it has been lopsided. And that's the impetus behind this conversation, as well as what we will do throughout the wards. Our Deputy Mayor Garen Gatewood, we are in our third quarter community meeting in Austin, in my neighborhood, around what the full force of government has to look like, right? Because what I've said to the people who work for me in my administration is that everyone is connected to community safety. Our Department of Transportation, Tom Carney, has been on the front line for a very long time around how we build safer infrastructure, because it also contributes to the overall safety of our city. So it is still a dynamic, quite frankly, and it's a worthwhile investigation that you have led of how the city of Chicago has to do a better job at delineating responsibilities, so that the proclivity to simply rely upon policing as the only way in which we secure communities, that we shift away from that. Now, look, of all of the things that I have to transform in this city, that one is tough, quite frankly. But I'm confident that we're going to build better systems of care. As you know, we have moved away from the pilot program. So our CARES program where behavioral health, mental health workers will show up to the crises, of which 40% of the 911 calls are coming through. We expect and anticipate that will have some strong returns on investment. The fact that we are investing in young people, building better infrastructure, is something that we see will help turn the tide. And then the last thing I just think is an important note, since we were talking about education so much, I'm also responsible for our community colleges as well. And we've seen a 48% increase in enrollment at Malcolm X College. The number one subgroup that's enrolling in our community colleges are Black young men. And I'm grateful that we have a young brother with us today, Brother Powell, who I had a chance to meet earlier, who connected with Pastor Glover. And that relationship has given him inspiration and confidence that people care and love him, and that there will be more job opportunities for them. I know this is a little long-winded. I'm just simply saying that the reason why overtime has looked the way it has looked is because the way we have done community safety in Chicago and turning the tide and transforming that particular paradigm. That is an ongoing effort. There's some rigidity there that we do have to work through. And yes, there's still frustration, but I'm still very hopeful that we can turn things around. Thank you all again very much. Yep.